Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be talking about the winter sale from Steam. I'm going to recommend 13 games that I personally really enjoy. This time around I was kinda disappointed with the prices of this sale. I saw lower prices in the previous Steam sale from Halloween, and the previous one as well, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. Some games are cheaper, some games are more expensive, but overall the games I saw and I was interested in were just more expensive. Also remember, this is my opinion. If you don't agree with my opinion, that's okay. Just recommend me some games or deals down in the description. That would be really appreciated, so we can all get the best out of the Steam sale. And since the prices are so similar to the previous sale, so I'm just going to leave a couple links down in the description on my previous Steam sale videos, so you can see what other games I recommend, because I try not to repeat the same games this time around. And there are a ton of games on Steam, so there's not an even remotely possible way that I can cover all of them. And the most expensive game is around $26.99 US, so keep that in mind. So yeah, let's get started, shall we? Crysis 1, 75% off, knocking it down to $5 or $4.99. And well, for $5 I think that Crysis 1 is worth the money. It's a different kind of game. It's not like the other ones that you have a linear path to go with some different open areas in between. Here the map that you have available to explore feels much bigger and with much more freedom to your approach. Plus how the suit works in this game is different to the other ones. You can select separately to be just faster, to have just way more force. I also love how the physics work in this game. You can just destroy one of those houses or just punch it to death. It works just fine. You can even destroy some palm trees with a machine gun, and it gets cut in as many pieces as you want. Still very badly optimized. It's from 2007, but it still looks pretty good. What I recommend to get 60 frames per second on any modern GPU is to lower the object quality from very high to high, and that was enough to be at pretty much over 60 frames per second all the time. So yeah, this game is pretty fun. In my opinion, a much better experience than Crysis 2 and 3, so I recommend you check it out for $5. I think it's a great deal. Dark Souls 3, 75% off, knocking it down to $15. Well, in this case, I'm kinda biased because I love Dark Souls. In my opinion, the first one is the best, Dark Souls 3 is the second best one, and the worst one, for saying it some way, is Dark Souls 2. They are still great games, all of them, but Dark Souls 3 for $15, in my opinion, is a great deal. I spent a lot of hours just playing through it. I just finished the game, then played New Game Plus. It just seems to take the best things about Dark Souls 1 and 2 and combining them together. I mean, this game is quite difficult. If you are just very susceptible to that, I recommend you avoid it. But for $15, in my opinion, is a great deal. The problem is that the DLC is not on sale, and if you want to get the gold edition with all the DLC, it would be much more expensive, so I recommend to just get the base game if you want. It's a great experience, you can get a lot of hours out of this, plus you have PvP and you can play with friends on some instances, just like on Dark Souls, just like on the other Dark Souls games. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Doom 2016, 50% off, knocking it down to $15. Well, another great game from last year. This was my favorite game of 2016. It's a great shooter. It also includes multiplayer, but in my opinion the best thing about this game is the campaign, so if you are going for the single player experience, it's highly recommended. Multiplayer I didn't enjoy it that much. When I played multiplayer was close to the release date, so it probably has way less people playing that right now. So maybe the multiplayer doesn't have a lot of people. I'm not 100% sure, but you also get a map editor when you can do a lot of stuff, plus play the creations of other players. And well, it's a great PC port as well, it runs amazing on all the hardware I put into it. And this game doesn't care about its story, it just laughs at that stuff, it just wants you to kill demons, so it's just shooting and action and all that kind of stuff. I saw this cheaper in previous sales, but I still think that $15 is great value for this game. Killing Floor 2, 50% off, knocking it down to $15 once again, another $15 game. And well, Killing Floor 2 is like a zombie wave survival game, so you have waves and waves of zombies being more difficult each time. So you get more zombies, more powerful zombies each wave that you have to take out, and you can buy weapons in between. You generate money when you're just killing the zombies and all the monsters. And while this game was on early access, it got out of early access successfully, and we got many maps available right now. I've been playing this the last couple weeks. I spent like 6 hours playing solo this game, but there are people still playing multiplayer. It's a co-op experience. Recently they updated all the characters for the holidays, so the game is now more Christmas themed. So the zombies are dressed as Christmas characters. If you just get tired of repeating that stuff, it might be boring to you. There are also a ton of different weapons that you can use, plus mod support. There are some maps made by the community as well. So there's a lot of content here, but you have to remember that this game is basically just a wave zombie shooter. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, 75% off, knocking it down to $7.49. The pricing of this game is very different between regions. I mean, for example, in my country, it's usually not that expensive compared to other ones. Konami, for some reason, is overpricing some of their games in my region. I'm not sure why that's the case, but hey, it's Konami, who cares? So, well, this game was made by Platinum Games, published by Konami. This is not like Metal Gear Solid at all. This is more of a Platinum game, similar to Bayonetta, in how the combat is done. It's a hack and slash game. You get very fast-paced combat, ridiculous boss battles that are a lot of fun as well. And since the game doesn't take itself seriously, you get a lot of in-jokes about how ridiculous some of the stuff that's going on screen is. So for $7.49, in my opinion, it's a great deal. You get a good story mode. So if you like hack and slash Platinum games, this should be a great deal for you. It's a game I replayed a couple times. I don't get tired of it. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, highly recommend it as well. Prey 2017, 50% off, knocking it down to $20. So another single player Bethesda game. This is from Arcane Studios, the people behind Dishonored. Well, I wasn't expecting to like this game. It reminded me of System Shock and some of the Deus Ex games for the options you have when you're just traversing. I was expecting it to run awful, but it runs pretty well. Actually, it's a great PC port, despite being so good looking and running on CryEngine. And while you're in a spaceship, you have to save humanity, for saying it some way. No spoilers, of course. Well, it's a very long game. You got a lot of options to finish your objective. You also have a glue gun that you can use to just, as you can see on screen, freeze enemies temporarily, or just to make bridges between places. You can just climb to a tall place that is out of your reach with a glue gun, just by making just some steps. And since there are some enemies that are disguised as objects in the ground, you will be sometimes just hitting random stuff, thinking that this is a hidden enemy or something like that. So yeah, very impressed with this one. Good job Bethesda and Arcane. And well, for 50% off, in my opinion, it's a great deal for the hours I got into this. Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, 50% off, knocking it down to $12.49 US. So well, I played this on multiplayer, then I bought the game, played a couple matches, trying to make a video, and for some reason I didn't make a video. Well, this is a multiplayer title. It's like a good mix between realism and fun. I mean, it's not too realistic to be bored with it, and it doesn't feel too arcadey to the point that it feels just stupidly unrealistic. So yeah, very challenging multiplayer shooter that requires communication, and it feels realistic but not to the point of getting boring due to its excess of realism. Total War Shogun 2, 75% off, knocking it down to $7.49. This game has a very interesting aesthetic. It's feudal Japan, and as always you have to take many places to just win the game. Well, since you're in Japan, your enemies are usually just your neighbors. There's a lot of tension all the time because you never feel safe, because your enemies are way too close to you, and the AI is very aggressive, so you're on the edge all the time in this one, comparing for example with the other Total War games like Rome. But it's a classic Total War game. You can spy on your enemies, you can just talk to them and try to make peace. And this game, when it came out, it blew me away with its graphics and amount of units on screen, but this one doesn't run that well. It maxes out a single CPU core, so when you zoom in into the characters, you'll be seeing a lot of slowdown. So keep that in mind if you plan on playing this. But in my opinion, it's one of the best Total War games to date. Rainbow Six Siege, the standard, 40% off, knocking it down to $23.99 US. You also have a starter edition, which is much cheaper, the complete edition and all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't recommend at all the starter edition, because when you play this game, you want to unlock operators, which are the characters that you're using in the game, and there are many operators. And And the problem with the starter edition is that you need a lot of points. You need way too many points to unlock operators, which means that you'll have to do a lot of grinding in order to unlock stuff. And if you want to switch to the standard edition from the starter edition, it will be a pain in the butt, because you have to do a lot of weird stuff if you buy it on Steam in order to do that change. So I recommend just investing on your standard edition. You get the normal grinding stuff, but it's not too grindy. I did it myself and it was just fine. I was having a lot of fun with it. And this is a multiplayer game. It takes some time to get used to. This game will kick your ass. It has a very tough learning curve, but once you learn it, you cannot put it down. That's what happened to me. It's quite amazing how much I'm enjoying a multiplayer game, since I'm more of a single player type of person. So yeah, for this price, I think it's worth the money. The Witcher 3 Game of the Year Edition, 60% off, knocking it down to $19.99 US. So well, The Witcher 3, one of my favorite games of a couple years back. I spent so many hours playing this game. This time around, compared to the previous Witchers, it's open world. You had a lot of stuff to do. The story is amazing. You have some different endings here and there, depending on what you do and what you say to people. And it also includes all the DLC, which is Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine. Those DLCs together are more than 20 hours of gameplay. Let that sink in. So if you like games overall, RPGs, something with a great story, but with a combat that not everybody likes, for $20 is amazing value. The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings, 85% off, knocking it down to $3. So well, as I told you about The Witcher 3, it's an amazing game. This one is as well, but it won't be for everyone. I can see that The Witcher 3 will appeal to way more people than this one. This one runs pretty bad. It runs awful. It was a PC game that just ran bad. It wasn't a port. It was made from the ground up for PC, and it was still a disaster on the performance. The game looks good, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't look that good to justify the performance hit. I made a couple videos just telling you how to tweak the game for certain GPUs if you want to check it out. But just like The Witcher 3, great story, great acting. The combat in this one, in my opinion, is not as good as on Witcher 3. It requires some time to get used to. And in my opinion, it's a more challenging game overall. You cannot drink potions while you're in combat. You have to just meditate before combat, drink the potions you need, and then get into the combat. So it needs a lot more preparation and strategy before just facing an enemy. If you like RPGs, a good story, this is a great game to play. XCOM 2, 67% off, knocking it down to $19.79 US. It's a tactical turn-based strategy game where you are the resistance from Earth. For saying it some way, the aliens invaded Earth, they succeeded, now we are the resistance. And as I said just a second ago, very tactical. And when you're fighting against the aliens, as you can see on screen right now, it's by turns. So you have a couple moves for each character. And when you're going to attack an alien or something, you got like a chance bar. For example, it says you have 67% chance to hit an enemy. 100% of the time you don't hit it and you lose your turn. If you want the XCOM experience for cheaper, maybe consider XCOM Enemy Unknown. That one is great as well. And it also has great mod support. So if you don't like how the turns are handled, some people feel that they are being rushed in this game because you have a limit of turns to complete some objectives. So I just got a mod that fixed that. They didn't put a turn limit to the missions. And well, just like that, the game was a lot better for me. So if you don't like how the game plays, or you just want a more challenging game, so in my opinion that adds a lot of replayability. So if you like strategy games, for $20 this should be a great value. And finally, the Valve Complete Pack, 92% off, knocking it down to $16.40 US. So well, in my opinion this is the best deal in the whole sale. Valve Complete Pack includes all the Counter-Strike games. You have CS 1.6, Counter-Strike Conditions 0, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Half-Life 1 with the DLC, Half-Life 2 with the DLC. You get Counter-Strike Source, you get Half-Life Source, you also get Day of Defeat and Team Fortress Classic, and also the Portal games, Portal 1 and 2. So yeah, this is the best value in my opinion in the whole sale. You get a ton of great games for less than $17. Of course, some of the games are old, but it doesn't mean that they are bad. For example, Half-Life, Half-Life 2, those games are must play. And you also get all the Counter-Strike versions. This is just a definition of value. So yeah guys, that's pretty much it. Those are the deals I like the most about this sale. Remember, this was my opinion, so if you don't agree with my opinion, that's okay. Just leave yours in the comments down below. Let me know what you purchased, what do you think it was a good value, so I can add some extra good deals down in the description. But yeah, enjoy the sale and happy holidays.